Sivaya Nama Tiruchitrambalam. Welcome back to our discussion on 9th Thirumurai. Today we are going to start with the third Thirupadigam, in that the very first verse. This particular Padigam is also written by Thirumaaligai Thevar to the temple Chidambaram. It starts as Uravaagiya yogam, and this particular Padigam is sung in the Pan, which is Panjamam. According to the Tamil tradition, the very old Tamil tradition, all the literatures usually are categorized under two segments. One is called as whatever we are going to talk about, like a king or a god or whoever it is, his valor and his generosity and the pride that he carries. He's always talking about that particular part of his life, which we call it as the exterior. Another one is more like internal, as in his family life, and not necessarily a king but any normal person, right? So we talk about how we have a soul partner and what kind of a relationship. Those are the ones which is explained as part of the interior part. So there are two things that we always talk about according to the literatures. One is the external and the other one is the internal part. So this particular Padigam is sung in the format of the interior areas, which is there is a hero. We won't usually have a name. We have a hero and we do have a heroine. The heroine is the one who is going to fall in love with the hero. We all know hero is Lord Shiva and the heroine is basically the soul. And if we look at Saiva Siddhantam, we all know when a soul carries a body, there are totally 5 levels of body. We call it as the Panja Kanjugam. There are 5 levels of bodies. The interior body doesn't have any kind of a segregation, as in there is no gender discrimination, there is no color discrimination, there is no even human or animal, whatever, right? There is none. Only the first level, we call it as the Annamaya Kosa. That Annamaya Kosha alone has the specific approach, as in the color, the skin tone, the gender discrimination, even to talk about whether it goes as a plant or a fish or an amoeba or a human or a any kind of animal, whatever it is. So the first level that we are having, as in the exterior body that we are having, is the one which has a gender. That is why in Saiva Siddhantam we do not discriminate male or a female kind of an approach. So there is a question usually asked, can a lady do a Shiv Puja? Obviously we can do, because the soul, it's a connection between the soul and God, not between the physical body and God. So in Saiva Siddhantam we don't restrict who should be singing Thirumurai or who should be doing Shiv Puja or who should even go and get Diksha. There is no such discrimination in Saiva Siddhantam. That's the first thing we need to understand. So here the soul, basically the soul that we are carrying is considered to be the female, because we always long to get onto our soul partner, which is Lord Shiva. So we need to get onto our soulmates. And how do we do that? Through the help of our mum. So in Saiva Siddhantam, as in the ancient literature, we usually have 2 types of mums here. One is the one who gave birth, the biological, the maternal mum, and the other one, the biological mum rather, and the other one is the one who is actually growing up, the person who is actually growing up the baby, typically considered to be a very close friend of the mum. So the mum, as in the maternal mum, the biological mum, is basically our guru, because the guru is the one who is giving us diksha and getting us closer to Lord Shiva. And the mum who comes in very close contact with us and helps us move towards the next level is basically the 5-letter syllable, which is our mantra, which was given to us either Nama Sivaya or Sivaya Nama. So those are the characters that we are going to consider in this particular Padigam. So what is our role here? We are the soul. We are yearning to get on to our soulmate. with that intention, we have to read, because when you talk about the Agam and Puram and all these, right, it is not only for the literature, or it is not only for understanding the literature part of it, or just standing on a superficial level, but getting into the crux of it to say, okay, I'm the soul, I need to get on to my soulmate, which is Lord Shiva. Let's look at this verse first. Thiruchitrambalam. Uravaagiya yogamum bogamumai உயிராளி என்னும் என் பொன்னொரு நாள் சிரவாதவர் புறம் செற்ற கோற்ற சீலை கொண்டு பன்றி பின் சென்று நின்ற மரவா என்னும் மணி நீரருவி மகேந்திர மாமலை மேலுறையும் குரவா என்னும் குண குன்றை என்னும் கோலாத்தில்லை அம்பல கூத்தனையே. Thiruchitrambalam. This particular verse, as we said earlier itself, talks about the love that is happening between the soul and Lord Shiva. So, this particular verse is explained as the mum is explaining it, not the maternal mum or not the biological mum, but the mum who is growing up the girl. So she comes and says, you know what, my daughter is totally she's totally in a submissive state, and she is always talking only about Lord Shiva. That's why she says, she's repeating again and again, she's repeating the same dialogue as Lord Shiva is our yogam and he is our bogam. When you look at these two words, it's actually quite contradicting. When you say yogam, which means we are in the path of spiritual and path of renunciation and the path of realization. When we say bogam, we are in the path of the materialistic life. How can Lord Shiva be our, as in he is the most close contact with us when we want yogam as well as when we want bogam? Isn't this sound, does this sound contradicting to one another? No, because according to Saiva Siddhantam, we all know Sivaya Nama. Nama is basically the worldly happiness or whatever is temporary around us, like car and housing and cash, and we call it as the 5 Z's, right? The condo or the cash and credit card and club membership and whatever it is. When we talk about those, that is basically our nama. Once we start enjoying that, we just relish that, we start getting immersed into it, after a particular level we will get into a stale state. At that point in time, we will know these riches is not the real happiness, there is something beyond that, and that is the time we will start longing for achieving Lord Shiva's grace. That is where Si and Va will come closer to us, which is what we call it as yogam. So yogam is considered to be Si and Va, bogam is considered to be Na and Ma, Ya is basically the soul. That is why the soul is longing for Sivaya Nama, because we don't know what is that we want. It's individuals based, right? So if we need Nama, God will be giving us that. If we need Siva, he will be giving us that. Whatever it is, no resentment. We just need to enjoy. After a while, we will go back to Siva, because ultimate state is Siva. Not only that, in this particular verse, the author also says, the saint is also saying that my daughter is continuously rattling about certain things about Lord Shiva's valor. When he went to destroy the 3 flying fortress, he just took one single bow with him, bow and arrow basically, right? Just one arrow he took with him. Obviously there's only one bow, but he took only one arrow with him. Imagine there are 3 forts. In order to destroy 3, at least we need 3 arrows, right? But what Lord Shiva did was he carried only one. Now the next one is on the other hand, Kradamurti, right? That's another kind of form that Lord Shiva took. He went to fight with Arjuna, but that was considered to be a fake fight. Yes, it was not it was intended to be fake. In order to go and fight with Arjuna, he was carrying so many arrows with him, because he knew he was not going to kill or he was not going to destroy Arjuna. Rather, he was only there to make a play over there, because Arjuna, some more, Arjuna was actually in a penance state he was actually going through this yoga with Lord Shiva. He wanted to see Lord Shiva. That is why he was going through this particular state. And at that point in time, Lord Shiva wanted to play with Arjuna, and he came in like a he took the form of a person who's actually driving a pig and all these, and then he was wearing a bow and arrows, quite a lot of arrows that he was carrying and all these. So he came as a proper hunter. Basically, the form that Lord Shiva took was a hunter form. And this verse goes this way: my daughter continuously is rattling about these valor actions of Lord Shiva, and then she also says, my would-be or my lover is actually the one who is performing the cosmic dance. Our soulmate is the one performing the cosmic dance, and I want to achieve his lotus feet. That is what this verse is all about. Remember, while reading all these kind of verses, which is more like love focused, or it's something from a girl's point of view to say that they are falling in love and all these, we need to understand one thing. It all means, when we say we are falling in love, which means we have started our Shiv Puja. When we say we are rattling, we are basically talking about the 5-letter syllable and so on. We shouldn't be taking this in the worldly form, because then we will not be able to see the inner meaning of it. We won't be able to achieve the real meaning of these particular verses. Sivaya Nama, Tiruchitrambalam. Welcome back. We are continuing our discussion on 9th Thirumurai, 3rd Padigam, 2nd verse. Let's look at the verse first. Tiruchitrambalam. காடாடு பல்கடம் சூழ கேழல் கடும்பின் நெடும் பகல் கான் நடந்த வேடமகேந்திர வேட்ப என்னும் வினையின் மடந்தை விம்மாவேருவும் சேடா என்னும் செல்வர் மூவாயிரர் செழுஞ்சோதி அந்தணர் செங்கை தோழும் கோடா என்னும் குண குன்றே என்னும் குலாத்தில்லை அம்பல கூத்தலையே. திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். Again, a very lovely verse, because in this particular verse, as we already saw, the mom is talking to her friends, so she's actually complaining about her daughter, to say, my daughter is continuously rattling about Lord Shiva. She's always singing about his praises and his valor and his beauty and whatnot. Continuously she's only talking about Lord Shiva. And what is she talking about? What is so great about Lord Shiva to speak about? She continuously says that, you know what, one fine day Lord Shiva took up a hunter dressing, a posture, and he went behind a pig. And we all know why he did that, because he wanted to give the boon that was asked or that was requested by Arjuna. In this, they use a word called as hunter. If you look at the word hunter, where will usually hunters be? They will not be very visible to the others, because they always try to attack from behind, and they always try to hide themselves from the others. And how is it synchronizing with Lord Shiva? 100% it synchronizes with him, because Lord Shiva is also hiding in our thoughts, in our logical, intellectual mind. Where is he? He is there within us as our intellect. He is the one who gives us instructions about what we need to do and what we shouldn't be doing. Once we realize that it is Lord Shiva who is there, and we surrender ourselves and let him take the lead, obviously all our actions will be very, very positive. But what we are trying to do is, we are trying to think from our own minds, which is obviously distracted by karmic deeds. So when this kind of an action comes in, or this kind of a thought comes in, our actions are corrupted and it doesn't have the full effect of Lord Shiva's grace. That is why we are getting into a lot more and more and more trouble on a daily basis. So what we should be doing is, let us understand, first we have to understand that Lord Shiva is there within us in the form of the intellect, and he is the one who is going to guide us throughout. Let's look at a simple mosquito. Mosquito doesn't bite everyone. When a mosquito is biting someone, who instructs, who tells a mosquito that this is the target and this is not a target? Obviously Lord Shiva, but who is sitting inside the brain of the mosquito. Let's look at even any kind of an animal like a tiger or a lion. It's a carnivorous animal, but it has a characteristic that it will never kill an infant, a baby. It doesn't. The reason is, it knows even though it's an easy target, it doesn't kill that. Who's instructing those? It is only based on the intellect, where Lord Shiva is instructing those. Let's look at any animal, a mammal which is giving birth. Who is instructing the kid to say how to drink milk? Obviously no one is teaching the baby, right? It is 100% Lord Shiva who is there within the brain, within the intellect. So Lord Shiva is 100% called as a hunter, and we have proof for that as well. Now let's look at the next one. My daughter is continuously talking about Lord Shiva's praise and all these, and she also keeps saying that he is the king of the mountain called as Mahendra mountain, and this particular Lord Shiva is dancing in the form of cosmic dancer. He is dancing in Thillai, the place called as Tiruchitrambalam, where 3,000 of the priests are there. We call them as the Vediyar. They do Vedas and pujas on a daily basis. Because of their rituals and because of their pujas, they are given the option to worship Lord Shiva in the form of cosmic dancer in a very, very closely related manner. That is why they are taken as Thillai Muvairavar, which is very, very famous. The reason is, they are because when we are taking Shiv Puja, they usually give us a linga form, but for the 3,000 priests, the Anma Murtam itself is not Lord Nataraja, which is the cosmic dancer. So you can imagine what level of flexibility they do have in worshipping the cosmic dancer. That is what second verse is all about. All we have to do is imagine ourselves as the longing soul in order to reach Lord Shiva's lotus feet, and we have to start rattling the 5-letter syllable, the mantra, which is Sivaya Nama or Nama Sivaya, whichever is given to us by our Guru, and then obviously Lord Shiva's grace will start falling on us. Sivaya Nama, Tiruchitrambalam. Welcome back. We are continuing our discussion on the 9th Thirumurai, 3rd Thirupadigam, and the 3rd verse. Let's look at the verse first. Tiruchitrambalam. Karivaru Muranenam Eida Kaliyar Pulinarku Aalayenum Vani Tadavu Nedungudumi Maindira Maamalai Melirunda Theni Ennum Devavai Mozhiyar Thiruvalar Muvaayiravar Deva Koni Ennum Guna Kundri Ennum Kulathillai Ambala Kuthanaye. Tiruchitrambalam. Again, this verse resonates with the first 2 verses that we have already seen. For example, the same information is being repeated here also. The first one is Lord Shiva taken the form of a hunter, was going behind a pig because he wanted to fight with Arjuna. Just a casual, not a formal fight or very serious fight, rather it's something like just like a simple one, in order to make fun of Arjuna. Not only that, there's also another information that Lord Shiva is the one who is the ruler of Mahendra mountain, Mount Mahendra, as well as Mount Kailash. He is the one who's being worshipped by Thillai 3000 priests, and that kind of a cosmic dancer is performing his beautiful dance in Thillai. These are the 4 information given in the 4 lines of this verse. One specific information that we will have to discuss is, there is a specific information about honey in this particular verse, in the second, basically the second and the third line. It's actually continuation. In this, the author says, the saint says, Lord Shiva is the honey, especially the honey that is sought out from the mountains and high mountains, the apex of the mountains. This has a lot of medicinal value, medicinal properties, not like the one that we are getting from the honey farm. Rather, the real natural honey that we get from the mountains are supposed to be having a lot more medicinal property, medicinal value. How we can identify this is because honey doesn't have an expiry date. By right, should not have an expiry date. But if you go to any kind of a departmental store, when you take on a honey bottle, you will be able to see there is an expiry date. And we all know it is sugar water in the form of the honey consistency. It is not real honey. The real honey that we are talking about is gotten from the high mountains, and that has a lot of medicinal property. What is one of the property of honey is, it doesn't decay, as we said earlier, and at the same time it doesn't let anything else that is with it to decay, similar to Lord Shiva. He is with us in this worldly life, with us in everything, but he is not going to be impacted, he is not going to be affected, he is not going to be contaminated with whatever is happening around us. At the same time, once we reach out to Lord Shiva, he is going to protect us also. Something like, putting a gooseberry into a honey bottle or rose petals into a honey bottle, it stays for decades together. Similar to that, when we are able to lean ourselves to surrender ourselves to Lord Shiva, he is the one who is going to take care of us. That is what this particular, the third verse talks about. Beautiful verse, again talking about the same information but with profound meaning. Sivaya Nama, Tiruchitrambalam. Welcome back. We are continuing our discussion on the 9th Thirumurai, 3rd Thirupadigam and the 4th verse. The verse goes this way. மரியேறு பன்றிப்பின் சென்று ஒரு நாள் விசயற் கருள் செய்த வேந்தே என்னும் மரியேறு சாரல் மகிந்திரமா மலை மேலிருந்த மருந்தே என்னும் நெறியை என்னும் நெறி நின்றவர்கள் நினைக்கின்ற நீதி வேதாந்த நிலை குறியே என்னும் குணக்குன்றி என்னும் குலாத்தில்லை அம்பல கூத்தனையே. திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். Beautiful verse. The reason is we have been talking about Lord Shiva, who is there in the mountain called as Mahendra mountain. At that particular place, he was giving us the lesson on agamas, not us as in the humans, but he was giving this to his consort Parvati Devi, and she through her everyone else, as in the rishis and the gurus and all, they started listening to it, and from them we started receiving it to the worldly people, like the human beings. So that particular incident is being resonated in this entire Padigam. We are able to see that this particular concept is being repeated. Same ways, another concept that is being repeated all over again is the way how Lord Shiva was able to give the boon to Arjuna. And we all know that, you know, there was a pig, and he was Lord Shiva came as a hunter, and he was chasing the pig, and end of the day, you know, there was a small fight between a tiff between Arjuna and Lord Shiva, and end of the day Lord Shiva said that he was there to you know, bless Arjuna with a boon that he wanted, and you know, we all know that particular Purana anyways. But one beautiful verse that we are talking about today, there is a particular information on medicine. What do we call as a medicine, right? According to Sivanyana Mahamunivar, he says medicine is something that we don't take it after we get the disease. Medicine is something that we have to take in order to stop, as in proactively stop the problem in coming to us, as in the disease should not even come to us. That is what we call it as medicine. So according to him, today whatever we are having as medicine is really not a medicine, because it is all very reactive in nature. After we get the disease, we are taking that to stop it, or even to reduce it, or not even to reduce it, but just as a, you know, just as a temporary stop. It's like just a workaround. But according to Sivanyana Mahamunivar, he says a medicine is something that is supposed to stop the problem itself, stop the disease itself in the first place, proactively stop it. So according to him, the only medicine in this world is the 5-letter syllable mantra, which is either Sivaya Nama or Nama Sivaya, according to whatever was given to us by our Guru. And if you look at our Kari Pillayar, he was also talking about the beauty. He's also talking about the beauty in his third Thirumurai. He's talking about the 5-letter syllable, Anjuruthu, we call it. So he's talking about it as, he says, this is the one which is considered to be the best among Upanishads. All the Upanishads we know, we have this Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvamasi kind of Upanishads, right? Basically the Mahavakyas. Beyond that, the 5-letter syllable mantra Sivaya Nama or Nama Sivaya is going to give us a lot more something like a medicine that is going to stop us in getting into this vicious cycle of birth and death. That is what today's verse is all about. It's a beautiful verse. Once we go to Lord Shiva in the form of the cosmic dancer, we will be able to appreciate it. We will be able to see the beauty of it. We will be able to see how you know we are getting into the suffering and all these, right? How to stop the suffering and all these is basically the medicine is nothing but the cosmic dancer itself. All we have to do is just surrender ourselves to Lord Shiva. That is what the verse number 4 is also talking about. Sivaya Nama Tiruchitrambalam. Welcome back. We are going to continue our discussion on the 9th Thirumurai, 3rd Thirupadigam, 5th verse. The verse goes this way. செழுந்தென்றல் அன்றில் இத்திங்கள் கங்குல் திரை விரை தீங்குழல் சேவின் மணி எழுந்தின்றன் மேல் பாகையாட ஆடும் எனை நீ நலிவதன் என்னே என்னும் அழுந்த மகேந்திர தந்தர புட்கு அரசு கரசையமர தனி கொழுந்தே என்னும் குண குன்றி என்னும் குலத்தில்லை அம்பல கூத்தனையே. திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். It's a very different kind, but it's a beautiful verse, because in this particular phrase or the verse, literally if we take it, it shows the love that a lady has on Lord Shiva. But actually when you go a little bit more deeper into it, we know this is not just a platonic love that we are able to hear or see or feel in this world, but it is beyond that. Basically, when we are in a yoga samadhi state, we would be hearing some sounds. we would be feeling certain, like for example, there's a small cool breeze that is on our, that is embracing us, and these kind of feelings will happen when we are in the dhyana samadhi state. So when we are in a meditative state, we are able to hear certain sound, something like ringing of a bell, or we are able to, we would even be able to hear an elephant making its noise, or even the sound of a seashore, the way how the waves are hitting. So we will be able to hear those waves, sound of the waves as well. These are some of the sounds that we will be able to hear when we are in a meditative state. We can see this in Thirumandiram. Thirumandiram, they have given this proof. There are Thirumular is giving us 10 different sounds that we will be able to hear while we are in a meditative state. In this particular verse also, it goes as if the lady who's in love with Lord Shiva is able to feel or hear certain things, which is bringing her, basically when someone is in love, they will have this kind of solitary feeling, right? So it brings out her solitary feeling, and this should not be directly or literally translated into the materialistic love that we are seeing today, but it is beyond that. What does this mean, right? If we look into it a little bit deeper, we will be able to see, whenever we are able to feel the wind or the breeze, or we are able to see the moon or even darkness, and we feel solitary, it means we are still in this body and we have not achieved Lord Shiva's golden feet or the lotus feet. So, which means it is actually kindling our suffering more. If we are able to hear certain sounds when we are in a meditative state, what does that imply? That also implies that we have not yet achieved Lord Shiva's lotus feet, but we are still in this body, we are still in this world, right? So that is why that is also kindling the suffering in this soul, which is longing to achieve Lord Shiva's lotus feet. That is the beauty of today's verse. It's 100% talking about the meditative state, the yoga state that a soul must always yearn to achieve, long to achieve, and we should always, end of the day, what we need is to get into a state where we are not going to be born again, we are not going to be dead again as well. So breaking this vicious cycle of birth and death is what a soul should be longing for, and that can be done only when we fall in love with Lord Shiva and when we try to achieve his lotus feet. That is what verse number 5 is all about. Sivaya Nama, Tiruchitrambalam. Welcome back. We are continuing our discussion on the 9th Thirumurai, 3rd Thirupadigam, 6th verse. The 6th verse goes this way. Tiruchitrambalam. வண்டார் குழலுமை நங்கை முன்னே மகிந்திர சாரல் வராகத்தின் பின் கண்டார் கவலவில் ஆடி வேடர் கடினாயுடன் கை வளைத்தாய் என்னும் பண்டாய மலராயன் தக்கன் எச்சன் பகலோன் தலைப்பல் பசுங்கண் கொண்டாய் என்னும் குணகுன்றே என்னும் கூலாத்தில்லை அம்பல கூத்தனையே. திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். This particular verse again resonates the earlier 5 verses. No difference. We are still going to talk about the beautiful avatar. We can't call it as avatar, but the forms that Lord Shiva has taken, which is called as the Kradamurti, and also the way how he was sitting in the Mount Mahendra mountain to give the agamas to the souls or to the lives in this particular world. And also it resonates one another information, which is the love, the bond that is being developed by the soul towards Lord Shiva. That is what verse number 6 is all about, and we are going to talk about that right now. The first 2 lines in this verse beautifully depicts how Lord Shiva is taking the form of a hunter. He is having a dog with him, and he is in a very, when they are going for hunting, obviously they cannot be lazing around, right? They have to be in a very, very fast paced manner. So he is really trying to move in a very jiffy manner, and Uma Deviar, as in his consort, is also following him in the same pace. You see, the beauty is whatever Lord Shiva does or takes the form, Parvati Devi will also follow the same. In Siddhiyar, there is a beautiful phrase for this. It says, Ettiram nindran Isan, Attiram avalum nirpal, which literally means whatever form Lord Shiva takes, the same form will also be taken by Parvati Devi. So that is the beauty or the understanding between the husband and the wife over here. Okay. Now, when we talk about this particular form, which is a hunter form, he is going behind a pig. And what is the reason for that? We all know, in order to give the blessings to Arjuna. So that is what the first two lines are talking about. After that, he says, there is a denotion of the ritual that was conducted by Dakshan, and in that he ignored Lord Shiva and he invited all the other devas and he performed this pyre, and because of that Lord Virabhadra came to destroy this pyre, because it was not considered to be the holy one, rather it was considered to be, we call it as the otherworldly, so which means the negative form of it. So the negative form of the pyre has to be destroyed, and that is why Lord Virabhadra came and he did whatever it does, right? He did everything that has to be destroyed, and then he left. So in that, Dakshan's head was removed, Yachan's head was removed, and then the sun god, we know that there are 12 suns, right? So one of the sun god, his eyes was destroyed, one of the sun god's teeth was destroyed, so on and so forth. There's a beautiful list that we can discuss during Dakshan Velvi itself. So this is the history behind, or the Purana behind, this particular incident. Not only that, Lord Shiva beautifully is performing his cosmic dance at the place called as Thillai. So he is dancing in front of the stage, which is basically considered to be the cosmic dance, and because of the dance the entire world is functional. That is what this verse number 6 is all about. So verse number 6 is more towards resonating with the earlier 5 verses, nothing different, but it talks about how simplified or how simplistic Lord Shiva comes whenever he wants to embrace his devotees and also shower his grace on us. So that concludes verse number 6. Sivaya Nama, Tiruchitrambalam. Welcome back to our discussion on the 9th Thirumurai, 3rd Thirupadigam, 7th verse. The verse goes this way. Tiruchitrambalam. கடுப்பாய் பறை கரங்க கடுவெஞ்சிலையும் கணையும் கவடும் கை கொண்டு உடுப்பாய தோல் செருப்பு சொரிகை வரகம் முன்னோடு விழியுழைப்ப நடப்பாய் மகேந்திர நாதநாதாந்தத்து அறையாய் என்பார்க்கு நாதாந்த பதம் கொடுப்பாய் என்னும் குணகுன்றி என்னும் கூலாத்தில்லை அம்பல கூத்தனையே. திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். Today's verse is a very lovely verse, and quite a lot of Siddhanta concepts are there in this particular verse. Of course, the first 2 lines are depicting the beauty of the hunter, which we all know, Lord Shiva. He is wearing a slippers made of skin, and he is wearing a dress which is nothing other than tiger skin. Not only that, he is having some, in his hands he is carrying all the weapons and equipments and all these, and also he is carrying a very important drum which can make a loud noise. And we all know when someone is going for hunting, they need to first, because whenever someone is going into the forest, they know the animals will always be in its own den, it will not come out. So how do we make these animals get out of its comfort zone is to scare them. How do we scare them? With the help of some loud music. So when it hears this music, it will get out of the den and it will try to run away because it wants to escape. Even today during Deepavali time, we can feel that whenever there's a lot of crackers, the house cats, with the pets that we have like cats and dogs, will try to run like crazy, and they don't even know how to backtrack and come back, and they will be lost. I'm not sure if you have faced it, but I have faced a lot of such situations, and we have lost a lot of cats. And of course, the next year some more new cats will join in, and that's a cycle, not natural cycle that we go through. So if you look at it, the animals, when they run away, that's more easier for the hunters to target, and that is where they will start doing performing their hunting work and all these. This is depicted as part of the first two lines. So which means Lord Shiva, in the form of a hunter, is carrying all the equipments which can make loud noise, right? The last two lines talks about Lord Shiva's beauty in terms of Siddhanta concept. He is beyond the 36 Tattvam. We have already seen this in Unmai Velakam. He is beyond this 36 Tattvams. And when we say the 36 Tattvams, the last Tattvam is about Nada Tattvam, which is actually sound. Lord Shiva is beyond that, and he is the one who controls the sound as well. So he is beyond there, and he is the one operating this particular Tattvam. You look at the beauty of it. In this particular verse, he says, Lord Shiva is the one who is beyond this sound, and he is making sound while he is coming down. Such a beauty, right? I mean, when you look at it in the Tamil verse, right, it's really beautiful. That's what we call it as the literature, the beauty of the literature that we are able to appreciate over here. Not only that, when a disciple or a devotee just lays ourselves, as in, we just surrender ourselves to Lord Shiva, what he does is he gives us the Shiva Padam, which we call it as Nadanda Padam, which means he is beyond the Nada Tattvam, and he is giving us the Nadanda Padam. He is beyond everything, all the Tattvams that we are able to see and feel and hear as of today, and he is the one who is going to give us the Shiva Padam as of now, because the form of renunciation, the form of once we get the self-realization state, that the realization state is what we call it as the Shiv Padam, and that is given to us by Lord Shiva. Who is he? He is the cosmic dancer performing his beautiful dance in Thillai. That is what verse number 7 is all about. Sivaya Nama Tiruchitrambalam. Welcome back. We are continuing our discussion on the 9th Thirumurai, 3rd Thirupadigam, 8th verse. The verse goes this way. Tiruchitrambalam. Sevendu vel kodiyane ennum Sivane en Sivathunai ennum Mavendu Saral Magindiratin Balanayaga Ingi Vara ennum Povindi Muvayiravar Thola புகழிந்து மன்று பொலிய நின்ற கோவே என்னும் குணக்குன்றி என்னும் கோலாத்தில்லை அம்பல கூத்தனையே. திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். Again, this has a little bit of Siddhanta concepts in this particular verse. The first line starts as Shiva. He is holding on to a flag. The flag has Nandi in it, and this flag is considered to be a symbol of victory. Now we may have a question, victory towards what, right? Let's look at the flag. The flag hoisting ceremony in a temple is considered to be very, very auspicious, and it is nothing other than the 5-letter syllable, the mantra Sivaya Nama. We know the flag is onto a pole, right? The pole is basically called as sea. It depicts sea. It's not called, it depicts the sea. And the rope that is tied to the pole is called as Va. That is Va. And if you look at the flag, there's a cloth, right? The cloth is Na, and within that we do see the Nandi picture. That is basically Ya. And we do have some Darubai, they have they call it as Darubai, and that is actually tied towards the pole, and that is nothing but Ma. So you look at the flag hoisting ceremony, when they are pulling in the rope, the cloth which is tied together will go all the way, it will raise up. Once it reaches the Darubai, it will just burst out, and then it will start flying freely, which means similar to us. Right now we are tied to Arnavam, Kanmam and Maya. By the time, with the help of Va, which is Thiruvarul, with the help of Va, slowly we are achieving Lord Shiva's golden feet. Once we achieve the golden feet, we start to feel the freedom, and that is where we start to move freely. This concept is what we have as part of the flag hoisting ceremony in any temple that we are able to see. So that is why it is called as a victory, symbol of victory. And this particular flag is owned by Lord Shiva, who is basically my savior, our savior rather, as in this particular verse is from a soul, right? So that's why I'm using the word I, but actually we have to take it as us. It's our, he is our savior, and he is the one who's dancing in Thillai. When you talk about this particular Thillai, it is this particular place called Thillai is being worshipped not only by humans, but also people from heaven, people from hell, and people from the world that we are coming from. So all three, basically we call it as Moondru Ayiram, which is 3 and thousands. The 1000 is taken as not as a perfect number, but it is taken as a group or a consolidation. So we take it as 3 plus the world, 3 worlds. The 3 worlds are hell, heaven, and the world that we belong to. So a combination of all these people, who are the soul, not the people, but the soul, is worshipping, performing their puja, and performing the puja to the cosmic dancer, who is dancing for our well-being. That is what verse number 8 is all about. Sivaya Nama, Tiruchitrambalam. Welcome back to our discussion on the 9th Thirumurai, 3rd Thirupadigam, 9th verse. Let's look at the verse first. Tiruchitrambalam. Tharavar punam sunai thaalaruvi தடங்கள் உறையும் மடங்கல்லமர் மரவார் பொழில் எழில் வேங்கை எங்கும் மழை சூழ் மகேந்திர மாமலை மேல் சுரவா என்னும் சுடர் நீழ்முடிமால் அயன் இந்திரன் முதல் தேவர்க்கெல்லாம் குரவா என்னும் குணக்குன்றி என்னும் கூலாத்தில்லை அம்பல கூத்தனையே. திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். Once again, a very beautiful verse which talks about the beauty of the mountain called as Mahendra mountain. Right now we are not able to see this mountain. Probably it is below the sea. That's what our that's our belief again. If you look at this mountain, it has beautiful caves, and within those caves there's a lot of lions that is residing there. Not only that, the entire mountain is having a lot of trees, variety of trees are there, and not only that, there's also a beautiful falls, and the falls are basically coming from the natural source of water, and it is not being created, it is not man-made, rather it is a natural source of water, and that is coming in as a falls. This is the natural beauty of the place called as Mahendra mountain, and in that particular place all the devas, because our Lord Shiva is a deva, right? So the devas are coming in and they are worshipping Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva is the king of all the devas, and so he is there as a protector, not only for the souls but also for the devas. He is the soul. Whenever we have a problem or whatever, we can only confide in Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva is there to give us the consolation that we need, and that is what today's verse is all about. And she also mentions, as in the soul who is in love with Lord Shiva, he is also talking about how beautifully Lord Shiva is performing the cosmic dance in the place called as Thillai, and he is also considered to be the Guna Kundru, which means literally translated as Lord Shiva has got the 8 qualities that we always keep talking about. So he has all the qualities of a savior. So that concludes verse number 9. Sivaya Nama Tiruchitrambalam. Welcome back to our discussion on the 9th Thirumurai, 3rd Thirupadigam, 10th verse. The verse goes this way. Tirunirida uru teenden ennum tirunirume tirumundam teeti perunilagandan tiram kondeval பீதற்றி பெருந்தெருவே திரியும் வருநீரருவி மகேந்திர பொன் மலையில் மலைமகளு கருளும் குருநீ என்னும் குணகுன்றே என்னும் கோலாத்தில்லை அம்பல கூத்தனையே. திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். Today's verse gives us a historical event, and it serves as a documentation for that also. We all know, according to Saivism, there are 28 agamas. How did these agamas get resonated? We all know it was given to us by Lord Shiva. So how did we get it? Lord Shiva first gave it to Uma Deviyar, and Parvati Devi, which is Uma Devi, gave it to the souls, the qualified souls, and through them we all started getting it. So which means Lord Shiva gave it to Parvati. Hence it was because it was given to it's like one person giving to the other, so the person who's giving is called as a guru, right? That is what the 10th verse talks about. Lord Shiva stays as a guru for his consort, and he is sharing the meaning of the agamas. Not only that, the lady who's in love with Lord Shiva, this entire 10th verse comes in, the entire Padigam itself is coming in that pattern, right? Where we are able to see a soul which fell in love with Lord Shiva is talking about its the behavior, and her mother, as in the soul's mom, is talking about, is blabbering, is talking about what kind of a situation the soul is going through. That is what the entire pattern of this Padigam is all about, and 10th verse is also the same. So the soul that is in love with Lord Shiva is also blabbering that I'm not going to talk or touch or even think of someone who is not a disciple of Lord Shiva. What does this imply is a very important concept, because according to Saivism, we all know we have taken almost 84 lakhs of birth. Imagine, after taking so much of birth, we have gotten into a situation, or we have gotten into a state of even uttering Lord Shiva's name. Why would we do something to sabo that, right? So we need to always talk about enhancing that situation. We have to talk about moving towards the next level in our spiritual path rather than doing any damage to this. So being with the devotees, the disciples of Lord Shiva, devotees of Lord Shiva, always keep talking and singing about his praises will enhance our growth also. So that is what the first 2 lines in this particular verse talks about. The girl or the lady or the soul that is in love with Lord Shiva says, whoever is a disciple of Lord Shiva, I'll be with them. If they are rejecting Shiva, I'm also going to reject them. How do I know whether they are going to reject? If they don't have the holy ashes, obviously they are not the devotees. When they are rejecting my soul, as in the soul partner, I'm also going to reject them. This is what today's verse is all about. It's a very plain but yet very profound verse. Sivaya Nama Tiruchitrambalam. Welcome back to our discussion on the 9th Thirumurai, 3rd Thirupadigam, 11th verse. Let's look at the verse first. Tiruchitrambalam. Uttраயென்னும் உன்னையன்றி மற்றொன்றுணரேன் என்னும் உணர்வுள் கலக்க பெற்றாய ஐந்தெழுத்தும் பிதற்றி பிணிதீர் வெண்ணீரிட பெற்றேன் என்னும் முற்றாய சோதி மகேந்திரம் சூழ மனத்திருள் வாங்கி சூழாத நெஞ்சில் குற்றாய் என்னும் குணகுன்றி என்னும் குலத்தில்லை அம்பல கூத்தனையே. திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். Again a very lovely verse which talks about because in Saivism or even in Hinduism, if you look at it, we have a lot of confusion as in how many gods we have. Actually it's only one, we all know that, but we are just talking about a variety of forms which can give us a comfort, because God doesn't need a form or a name or whatever, right? But we need it because we need to relate with a form, only then we can open up. That is what that is why we have so many forms, that is in Saivism, but it doesn't mean we have so many gods. Yeah, the only Almighty is just one person, one, and we call it as Shiva. According to Saivism, we call it as Shiva. Now when you look at this particular verse talks about the confidence that a soul must be having to say, except one, I'm not going to talk about the other gods. There is nothing like multiple gods. There is nothing like multiple gods, it's just one, right? And that particular concept is being emphasized in this 11th verse, because we always get into a confusion as in how many gods are there, how many deities are there, and how many idols are there, and all these. Imagine whenever we call him as Lord Shiva, he is going to take the form of, there's nothing called as a limitation. He can do everything for us. You need money, you need education, you need to get rid of the problems that we are facing today. Whatever it is, Lord Shiva will be able to do it for us, because he is the omnipotent, omnipresent being who is going to guide us. That concept is being emphasized in the 11th verse. And how do we know that we are surrendering ourselves to him? There are three things. One is the Rudraksh that we are tying to our neck. The second one is the holy ashes that we have on our forehead. And the third one is something that we keep uttering continuously and regularly, which is the 5-letter syllable mantra Sivaya Nama or Nama Sivaya. This particular verse is also coming in as the mums, when a daughter is fallen in love, a platonic love with Lord Shiva, the girl is suffering and she is continuously chanting or rattling Lord Shiva's fame, and looking at this, the mum is not able to digest the pain that the daughter is going through, and the mum is actually talking about this pain. That is what 11th verse is also about. It comes as a verse that is given to us by the mum, looking at her daughter who is suffering because of the love she is having on Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is the cosmic dancer, and he is the one who is there in the mountain called as Mahendra mountain, and he is the Almighty, which my daughter is totally surrendering herself to. And what we should do is also surrender ourselves completely to Lord Shiva. That is what 11th verse is all about. Sivaya Nama, Tiruchitrambalam. Welcome back to our discussion on the 9th Thirumurai, 3rd Thirupadigam, and the finale verse, 12th verse. Let's look at the verse first. Tiruchitrambalam. வேராக உள்ள துவகை விளைத்து அவனி சிவலோக வேத வென்றி மாறாத 3000 வரையும் எனையும் மகிழ்ந்தாள வல்லா என்னும் ஆரார் சிகர மகேந்திரத்துள் அடியார் புழை பொறுப்பாயமுதோர் கூறாய் என்னும் குணகுன்றே என்னும் கோலத்தில்லை அம்பல கூத்தனையே. திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். Lovely verse. All of us should be resonating with this verse on a daily basis. If someone is asking, what kind of qualification does your God have? How can we talk about that in words, right? We can just say only one thing. He has taken charge of almost all the souls in this world. Fine. But you know what? He has even taken me as his disciple. You see, my qualities, instead of everyone else, I know it better. I know my pros and cons well than anyone else. And Lord Shiva's grace is so humongous that he has accepted me as one of his disciples. What else can we say? If someone is asking what is the qualification for your God, the only thing we can say is, you know what, in spite of all my ups and downs, all my pros and cons, and all my, whatever sins I have done, Lord Shiva has accepted me. He has given me, he has pardoned me of all my sins, and he has taken me as his disciple. He has given me his holy ashes. He has given me his mantra to be chanted on a daily basis. What more do we need? What else we need, right? That is the beauty. And there's a beautiful phrase in this particular verse which is like Amudu or Kur. Literally translated as Lord Shiva has half of his body as we call it as the honey or the nectar that we call it, right? So he's having nectar as his half the body. And we all know Lord Shiva has given half of his body to Uma Parvati. Parvati Devi is the one who has actually taken half of his body, which means Uma Deviyar is taken as the honey or the nectar. Can you imagine the beauty of this particular phrase? As in it talks about Amudu or Kurai. Lord Shiva has given half of his body to honey. So we all know honey is Parvati. That kind of beauty. I don't know. I really like that phrase. Probably it's my personal opinion, but I really liked that phrase. And this kind of Lord Shiva, who has accepted me in spite of all my ups and downs and pros and cons, is the one who is performing the beautiful cosmic dance, and he is the one who has taken me as his disciple, and he is the one who is always making me happy and always making sure that I'm happy in spite of all the turmoil that we are going through in this life. Beautiful phrase, beautiful verse. I'll come back again with the next Padigam itself very soon. Until then, Sivaya Nama Tiruchitrambalam.